Good morning, welcome to DPW Amsterdam 2024, day 2 already. It's early morning still here in Amsterdam, and with me today I have Lalitha of ORO and Romain of Pivot. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome Lalitha, Romain. How's DPW so far?
Brilliant as always.
Thank you.
And total adrenaline rush, and I'm very inspired by all the customer conversations and all the innovation that I'm seeing here.
Thank you. And you, first time?
Yeah, first time. I'd say above expectation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much better, and we have very high expectations. So you saw like the amount of investment we did on for the first time.
Yeah.
So we had a very high bar of expectation, and it went above. So.
Thank you so much for sharing. I understand both of you had dinner last night with customers and prospect customers, so looking forward to that outcome as well, of course, in time. And maybe to start also for the audience, right? We know each other, but we're here for the audience as well in this broadcast and this podcast. Maybe Lalitha, you can start a bit sharing on your background and when and why you started ORO Labs, and later we will go more into the details of what problem you're solving.
I've been in procurement space, building products and doing innovations for over almost 20 years now. Total procurement geek.
Yeah.
And I saw the transition of procurement as a function, which was very, IT focused, then spend management focused, then broader mandate. And I've seen the journey. Around 3.5 years ago, we started ORO because my prior life, I was heading solutions at SAP, Ariba, and I felt that we had still not solved the core problem of user experience, and especially in large companies, user experience and compliance fighting with each other. So how do we make that engagement fast and better and more productive and compliant for the companies? That's our charter. And we felt that we need to obsessively focus on it, so we started ORO.
You are obsessed, right?
We are totally obsessed.
Thank you. And you, Romain, your company is still very young, right?
Yeah, we are 15 months old. And I'm not from the procurement space at all. So all of this is pretty new for us. I'm more an entrepreneur and a geek as well, but not from the procurement. and what defines our team is building product and technology.
Yeah.
And the way it started is my own experience in my previous company. So I was in the founding team of a French unicorn named Swile.
Yeah, the France unicorn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we grew from 0 to 1,000 employees. And I learned what's procurement at some point because we had to address, because it was a regulated company, so compliance and legal aspect, risk management became a thing.
Yeah.
We had to be compliant with the SOC 2, ISO 27, etc. And we unveiled a huge mess that we've created over time. And I looked at what was on the market at the time, and it was only what we call the incumbents. And for us, in terms of DNA, was very far from the level of expectation we have in implementation, time to value, general UX. And for us, setting up an internal tool where you have to train users was completely counterintuitive. Because they use Slack, they use tools that they just use.
So it was your own experience and problem that you had in your company.
So
and there was no solution in the market at the time that could solve for it.
We built a tool that we wanted to use back then.
Excellent. So both of you are solving something that you experienced yourself. You coming from a large organization, right? Where the speed of innovation or there was a different focus maybe on development and innovation. And you experienced yourself as a founder, or you were founder at Swile as well?
Yeah.
I remember. Excellent. And you took a step out. You raised, I believe, Series A already.
Correct.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
And then you went into procurement. And what happens then?
What I do like as an entrepreneur is being in something that you don't know. So you have to unveil like why is it working that way, and you try to understand and reverse engineer why things have been done that way. Is it legacy? Is it for the right reason or not? But we don't want to reinvent the wheel neither. So we took care of being close to people who actually know. So we have a lot of advisors from the space that tell us what we don't know, but we keep our fresh eyes to be able to bring something new on the market. Yeah.
Interesting, because we have two perspectives, right? You felt the pain in your own company and are solving and reverse engineering the process and building your technology. If I'm correct, also for mid-market companies.
Yeah.
In EMEA.
Yeah.
And you, Lalitha, you know the industry, right? You know the CPO, you know the head of digital, you know the market, and you found the pain point as well. So there are two different perspectives of building a company and building a solution and finding the customers.
Absolutely.
And you're on large organizations?
Yes, our focus is global enterprises, large organizations. And I think that if you think about the end goal, it is, buying safely, dealing with compliance, etc. But large organizations have its own set of complexities because of segregation of duties. There are many teams, many processes, and many systems that has to kind of come together. And shepherding an experience for a user through all of this is quite a bit broken. And that is where we are trying to make it more seamless, more automated, but also increase the speed and the compliance in terms of how this happens. Because a business user doesn't always come with saying, I want to buy something. Sometimes they say, hey, I want to work with the supplier and maybe I need an NDA. I was like, how do I do X? How do I make sure that I can pay my supplier, etc.? So not all requests are about spend approvals. So you really need to be able to have a front door experience. It's a walk-up UI. And I think the expectations are the same. It doesn't matter whether you're a tech company or whatever it is. Nobody wants to be trained on procurement, period. Right? It has to be like, go, what do I have to learn? And it should work. And user experience should come to me in Slack and Teams, whatever it is. And I 100% agree with you on that.
So we talk about, are you both then in intake and orchestration, the new emerging tech domain? Would you say so, or is it?
We are definitely in intake and orchestration.
That's the talk of the town, orchestration. And you?
I hate terminology.
Okay, so enlighten me.
I feel that people need to put us in a box and a category. But truth is, when we speak, and I see that it's like here forever, like source to contract, procure to pay. People need to have the compass.
Do we need to step away from that, in a sense?
From an external standpoint, I think so.
Yes, please.
Because in the very first place, people started to talk with me about sourcing. And I was questioning, what do you mean by sourcing? What is sourcing? It's so broad as a definition, like it means everything and nothing. And when you start talking with a customer, you very quickly get rid of the terminology, just starting about what they need to achieve as a company, tend to think that they have a unique need, which is not true. And they all have the same need, but defining it unique. Differently. They like to think they're unique. They're not. So I think it's a good way to have a map, but that's very inaccurate in what's the product. Because I think a good platform should be able to do orchestration. Like any B2B software should do orchestration nowadays. Like in technology, like should it have AI in it? So to answer your question, yes, we are in that category, but we are in the S2P category as well. We are in all category people want us to be.
It's a fresh perspective, I guess. And Lalitha, I know there are also reports in the market, right, on innovation, on categories, and the analysts. They're also here, right, this week. How important are analysts and those reports in the market when it comes to innovation and building your company, but also reaching your customers?
I think it is a reflection of a third-party perspective, which is useful for a client to understand fit for purpose. Look, every customer, believe it or not, they can be quite different, but at the same time, they are trying to build their hypothesis on the capabilities of the product. And a third-party analyst, whichever one you say, Spend Matters, Gartner, Hackett, whatever it is, it gives them a perspective of two things. One is what is their neutral view of the product capabilities, but also what kind of customers get value and what kind of value from the tool. So from that perspective, it's an input, if you will.
Yeah.
Is it always accurate? Is it always detailed enough? Is it always fair? It is what it is. But I think we are human beings, right? Especially in this day and age, like, you want to research the restaurant that you're going to like so much before you go.
We can talk about Rizal again.
Yeah, totally. Yes. So it really is like an input for you to guide your thought process in terms of decision. And to the category question, I agree with you. I think, first of all, this is a new emerging category. So people are still trying to figure out what is intake, what is orchestration versus how is it different than things I do in my P2P or sourcing and so on and so forth. And I think that's a part of the new category emerging kind of a question. They're trying to
in the existing landscape, right?
In an existing landscape, because this is a new category, and I've seen the similar journey play out in other domains in CRM and stuff like that when Gong and Drift came out, etc. So it'll concretize over time. People will separate. Okay, this I'll do in P2P, this I'll do in orchestration, but I'll do my reverse auctions in sourcing tool. So.
In those category, Lalitha, and talking about you having a different perspective, right? Does that come because procurement, in a sense, and over all those years and working with large enterprises, is their language, it's their comfort zone to be in those categories, to understand those categories, and to stay there? Or is it also a perspective with mid-market companies and new technology companies that don't have that heritage and could have the fresh perspective where you define that unique need?
When we speak to the customer, they all have a different view on their definition. Depend on the level of maturity they have in their professional life, whether they have already worked in a mature organization that do have a procurement department, already set up a tool. So you can see that they've anchored some terminology and get used to that. But coming back to the analysts, I think it's good to have the category anyway to help people navigate at a very high level of differentiation. And I think what's good with the emerging category is that it carries the innovation part. Like being in an old category could say that you are an old player. So what's the common trait of all the people in the new category? It's recent vendors that are really articulated around innovation, AI, UX, which is all the values of intake and orchestration. And some people felt that they do intake and orchestration for a while. So
they already did.
There is
now there's a label or a category.
And a perception, because even if you talk about orchestration, it can be done in so many different ways. So it's remained quite broad, like sourcing. I did way more as a way to navigate, and analysts are very useful for that, to pinpoint the differences, either in terms of size of company, or a sector, or what could define your need, and help you to navigate in the offer, which is complex because there is a lot. So I think it's a good thing for what it was, but then you need to get much deeper in the understanding of what it means.
There's a common understanding here on the analyst. Good. Talking about the customers and the unique need and market readiness, right? You talked about the unique need. What did you identify?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think why I'm saying that they think they have a unique need, the way we see it, that is not unique, is when you look at a technological level, you try to abstract the complexity and what they feel as a unicity at the maximum level to be as generic as possible.
Because
I understand. What we've built very early on the journey is that implementing a software from the incumbent require a lot of implementation, because you need to tweak to make it work with your unique use cases. But if you build a layer of abstraction very deep, just with some parameters configuration, you can do whatever you want. An abstract complexity that they feel in their needs, that is accurate because of the size of the legacy, whatever. And this is why there's a gap between technology and process they have in their organization. And we all do that. I think that what's one of the criteria that define orchestration being way more flexible. And I think what's differentiate maybe, and you'll tell, but ORO and Pivot is we land in organizations that are less mature in terms of procurement, more greenfield type. But that being said, we don't come in a complete blank space because they have Slack, they have DocuSign, they have plenty of tools.
There's an existing
that
tech
don't
stack
communicate each other, but they don't have procurement tool neither.
No.
So we are in the middle. We do orchestrate, but we do procurement functionality as well.
And when you talk to your customers, right, or to your prospects, is it like, guys, finally you're here? Is it all open doors and say, oh my God, after all those years, here we are?
Wish.
It doesn't go hand in hand. They do say, finally you're here, but it's a very long hello when it comes to large enterprise. It takes its own time.
Yeah, it's a long cycle, right?
It is a long cycle, but I think that one thing to understand about procurement, right? I think that the mandate, when I say it has shifted, and I agree with you, I think that it's far more than spend management. And I think in a small enterprise, they don't want the complexities of many tools. They're like, I want to get procurement done. I don't want to define sourcing versus this. I completely get that. In a large organization, what we find has happened is that stakeholder engagement has become very, very complex. And for procurement team, when you think about they have to deliver far more than cost savings, then how do I deliver service levels, my turnaround time? How do I increase productivity, efficiency of the team so that my team actually has bandwidth to do more strategic things, etc. So the need for orchestration in particular is far more in large enterprise. I think intake, absolutely, yes, you want. The problem right now is there's so many tools. Each tool is its own intake. The question is, I want unified front door, single front door intake, but then the orchestration is where the big value is in terms of, can I have visibility to what's going on, even for my procurement team across different systems and different teams in a seamless way? Can I do massive parallelism? So this is not, especially, it's not a simple algorithm you can write to say, hey, this is the approval flow, approve, cut a PO, approve, pay an invoice. It is actually like a graph problem if you think about it. And it's how do I enable all these things to happen in parallel, but still get the compliance to come together, and I can manage the engagement in a deeper way. The technology landscape today in large enterprises is stable, but it's also rigid, and the integrations are fixed. When you want agility, which I think is a very important point you highlighted, it's not possible to be flexible enough for the speed of business today. And that is where procurement teams are struggling, because they know what they have to do, but they're waiting for the S4HANA upgrade lunch break so that they can squeak in their requirements. Then I think procurement needs technology that they can manage, that they can own, and they can actually move fast.
Is that what you recognize in the market?
Yeah, so I think selling to buyers is a thing.
Yes.
So they would never tell you, I was waiting for you, because it's part of the negotiation game, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
let's talk to the audience. You should change the conversation, right?
But we see the smile on their face when we start to show the products.
Yeah.
Because there is a gap in what they used to have and what they expose to the company, the stakeholder, as a very old school UX, and they see like a bright future with the potential tool they're gonna be able to implement in the company. So we see quickly when we show the product enthusiasm, which shows like appetite for our category of products.
And what's your average sales cycle?
To be very specific, our average deal duration is 65 days.
65 days. And can I assume with large organizations, 9 months or?
No, it really depends.
Shorter?
I think we've had large organizations which have moved as fast as 4 months, 3 months, and there are some which is like it's like a due diligence, POC, RFP, then the thing.
Shebang.
But like for example, Libeau Global, one of our customers, they did a POC, but they actually went live 5 weeks after POC. Global telco PE, but they move fast. And I think it's also the mindset of the procurement teams. I think that there are teams which are able to say, you know what, I'd let perfect not be the enemy of the good. I'm going to move fast, get this going, and I learn, iterate, and have a feedback loop that from which I can expand upon. And I think it's really a mindset with the companies too.
And when we talk about growth, right, and customers, the difference between the US and EMEA markets. You started out of Palo Alto, of course, and but you're coming for EMEA as well. You're from Paris and serving the EMEA market.
Yeah.
And Europe or EMEA is quite fragmented, of course. That might be a challenge compared to operating in the US. Or am I assuming here?
So I
You do both.
don't know why.
Tell me.
But I think that large enterprises in Europe, especially in some industries where a lot of the headquarters are concentrated here, like
Yes.
pharma, life sciences, who we work with a lot. There is a bias for action. There's a need for urgency, and I find that for us, the product market fit came much faster here. In terms of the early engagements, I think in US. There are lots of fast followers. Like I think that it's been a couple years since this market kind of started, and then there's a lot more activity now. But I think that it'll go its own cycle of exploration, etc. But I think it's more industry specific than it is necessarily geography specific. So I think that
Compliance and regulations.
Yeah, because compliance and regulations is one pushing factor. The second thing is need for speed and need for user experience. Like when you're a pharma company, you really want procurement to not be a blocker to scientists doing innovation.
An enabler.
So, and I really think that the urgency comes from a couple different places.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit different when it comes to mid-market.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because technological layer, for example, ERP, are way less concentrated compared to SAP, Oracle, and the few of the Microsoft that you can see in a large enterprise. So the technological landscape where we had to fit in with integration and everything that is key for orchestration is different from a country to another in EMEA. So for example, we have customer in Israel, so we do have a priority integration and priority ideal customer profile is company maximum 300 employee. So in France, we have Penny Lane, which is purely French accounting software. So, and this is why one of our challenge as a technological company is to have a strong muscle in integration.
Yeah.
So a third of our engineering team is doing integrations because of mid-market specifically. Yeah. And going to the US for us would be another challenge. Considering the competition, we think it's more a defocus for us. Yeah. Where global organization, whether they're in the US or in Europe, they think global anyway.
Yeah.
So, and we do have customer, for example, we have Lemonade, Israeli company.
Yeah.
Working essentially mostly in the US, but headquartered in Israel. Yeah. So they define themselves from the operation as a EMEA company.
And mid-market compared to your markets, right? Is it also RFP driven, or can you share a bit from how do you engage
50%.
with customers? 50%. Yeah. And about the quality?
But no POC. We never do a POC.
Yeah. Interesting. You don't do POCs. You take it or leave it.
I wouldn't say it that way, but running a POC, I think it makes sense for an organization to evaluate whether they have the resources and the business case to make it happen.
Yeah.
For mid-market, it's way more pragmatical. Yeah. Like, we have a problem, we need a solution, let's get it done.
Do it tomorrow,
once
please.
An RFP, it's more evaluation process of the different options. Yeah. But they need to make it happen. So they would never consider, we'll do something, and if it goes well, we'll see how we're going to take it. They need to solve a problem. So it's different type, I'd say.
100%.
Were you also 50-50 or?
No, I think that large enterprises, especially talking to procurement, there's always an RFP involved in some stage. Yeah. But I think that the main reason for large enterprises for this particular category is that they have an existing procurement landscape that's already there. They have a PTP tool, they have a sourcing tool, they have a few different sourcing tools often, and contract tools, risk tools, etc. So they really have to build an internal hypothesis on how will this actually work in practice. So I think POC plays a different function in large enterprises, and it's also way for them to engage their stakeholders and convince it. So I think it's a little bit different thing. But RFPs have really skyrocketed, and that's also the maturity of the category becoming better. So.
And the quality of the RFPs?
So they really vary because I think part of the RFP, especially the RFIs, that they're trying to decide for themselves, like, how much of this is overlap with P2P, how much of this is overlap with sourcing, you get the question. So always it's a part of where you say, okay, we don't do this. This is something you should do in your strategic sourcing tool. We don't do this. You should do this in your catalog tool, so on and so forth. But I think I don't mind it because I think it's more of a customer, the person trying to shape what capability and fit for purpose. So it's and how you answer also shapes the market. So
Yeah. You say on RFPs, right? You say it's okay, right? Do we need to change or address this in the market, or just go and mature in the market and procurement function on these specific questions they have?
look, I think he said something very interesting, right? Like I think that it's really important to get to the core problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
what
an
problem are we solving?
And really kind of dig deeper to say, like, why is this a problem and what is, because if not, you'll end up putting lipstick on a pig, right? Yeah. And I think that it's really important to understand the source of the question and understand where it's coming. RFP is a little bit, the conversations with customers a lot more interesting, especially if you dig in deeper. And, you really have to see, for us, for example, we handle manufacturing companies who do direct materials too. So, and the kind of problems that they're dealing with there is very, very different. So you really have to figure out, what is the scale and the pain and the size of the problem to see if it's worth implementing. Startup, big company, doesn't matter. You have the dev bandwidth you have. So you have to be nimble about what are the baby steps you're going to take to be able to solve for the problem. So I think it's just a little bit of a requirements, tickle, if you will.
Yeah.
I completely rely on that. I would put it differently in a sense of... there is a lot of RFP where you need to tick boxes.
Yeah.
And I think it's moving the conversation in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because it's not a matter of functionality and feature contest. And the spreadsheets that you need to fill doesn't reflect what you're trying to solve and to address.
We really need to solve
the overall company.
Yeah.
So I see it for Procurement Pivot as a way to get reassure and remove anxiety of, are you sure you can do that? But the real matter is, how do you do that? Yeah. And what's going to be the
it's also a comfort zone, right?
Sorry?
An RFP is also a sort of a comfort zone, less uncertainty.
Yeah, and sometimes there is a really stupid question, like, what do you do with AI?
Yeah.
Is it an RFP or a workshop?
Yeah. Okay, let's ask the question. It's also the talk of the town, right? How's AI helping your company growing your product?
For us, it's quite unique because we started the company when AI was really ready to use on shelf. Yeah. With overall market perception of readiness, which is not completely true, to be honest. Yeah. We don't like it much, like it has become a complete buzzword, like big data in the past, you name it.
Blockchain.
Yeah, so people come to us and tell us what you do with AI. Okay, leave me alone. I just do a product, just use it, and magic will happen because you don't even know that it's AI.
Why do they ask?
Because of the fame and the buzzword and because of you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, and I think the good thing, and this is what we advise, we say, okay, we're going to 10x for sure, productivity, efficiency, and so on, but you should not see it like it should happen in the background. And what's really hard at the moment...
It's just there, you say. It's there.
Yeah, but
it's happening.
You should not even notice. So you have some impact on potential interface, some UX, like prompting. But I think people are not ready for that because they are sitting in front of a box where they should ask something and they have no idea, like what we experienced back then with Siri. Yeah. You were just asking what's the meaning of life to Siri, just to have a fair answer, but we're still there. Like, people are not prompt engineer. Yeah. They don't know exactly what to ask. So we are all very enthusiastic to showcase what you can do with AI. But when you put them in hand of user, they're not really educated to use AI. So our job as a technology company is to embed AI in the behaviors they already have to make sure that we're going to 10x their productivity on behalf of them without even noticing that there is a huge efficiency gain. So we'll get to a point where which can change the overall UX, but we are far from that at the moment. It's an unpopular opinion, I know.
I saw you nodding, Lalitha.
No, I don't think it's an unpopular opinion, but I think that with larger enterprises, it's a little bit different. One thing that I'll agree is that I like to say it this way: everybody is Gen AI curious. Everybody is Gen AI has to. And I think that procurement teams are definitely doing personal experiments. They get their team, whatever, ChatGPT.
But should they experiment, or is it just you guys? You bring it on and focus on the outcomes and the results,
I think for us it is different. Like one of the things that we did, for example, as a company is ORO is now certified as a ISO 42001, which is a responsible AI certification, because with large enterprises, there's a lot of privacy concerns about their data being used in any kind of a LLM kind of a model. The second thing that's important for us is, to your point, it should be seamless, but it should be practical use of AI to increase accuracy, increase productivity. How are you using actual generative capabilities, etc. So we actually use multiple LLMs, and many of our customers are actually sophisticated enough to have their own, they have an AI service that they have built that they want us to integrate to, etc. So, and we do that. We say, bring your own LLM, so we can do that. And so I think that in a large enterprise, especially a compliance-sensitive enterprise, to leverage LLM-based capabilities with the data, this is a little bit more dance involved there. So we have to kind of convince the IT teams, technical teams are very sophisticated. We have to convince them that, hey, our RAG model doesn't take their data and just throw it into ChatGPT, and how we kind of deal with that, etc. But I think everybody really likes the practical, real value of AI-driven capability, and they will test it. They will test the heck out of it. Whatever I'm doing, commodity recommendation, supplier recommendation, generative extraction of data, they will test it with their data, and then they're convinced.
What is your advice to procurement organizations when they want to engage with you? What's the starting point?
For us, I tell customers they need to really move away from this whole analyze but don't get paralyzed. And experiment, recalibrate, repeat. Because I think it's really important for people to be agile and do baby steps. Don't do this big transformations and get stuck.
Get stuck for many years.
And move away from that mindset. I think procurement mindset is very important, right? I think that people talk about, it is people, process, technology, or they'll say, no, strategy, people, process, technology. But I actually think it's mindset. I think it's really important to get to a point where I don't know what my business will need tomorrow, but my capability, my DNA of my procurement organizations, we're going to be agile, we're going to be nimble, and we're going to flex fit, and we're going to deliver value. And I think that requires technology to be able to support them for that. So move fast.
Move fast.
Yes.
Completely agree. I feel a lot of anxiety over technology that I think we inherited from the past, of very complex solutions that take 18 months before delivering value.
If they deliver.
They start with a posture of saying, it's too good to be true. Like, you cannot go live in 2 weeks. We can go live in 2 weeks, and they don't believe us. So we have to sit with themselves. That it's gonna be fine. We're gonna take care of everything. But they are not really technological people by definition. So they feel a lot of anxiety, and they might have failed in the past. So they know they don't have much more opportunity to try. So this is why, for them, test and learn is a bit tricky, because they know that everyone in the organization is watching. What is your next move? And is it going to be again another shitty user experience?
Yes.
With 100 fields to fill for requests. So they are very careful. But appetites, I think it has restarted over the last 2 years and let the door open to this new category specifically. So I'm remain enthusiastic.
Thanks for sharing all this, right? It's really interesting, and I'm very happy you're here on the conference, but also in the show, right? So if we look a year ahead, right, and imagine it's 2025 now, what's ahead for ORO the next year?
Oh, we're going to totally rock DPW again for sure. I think for us, it would be essentially having more customers for whom we have proved a thesis of the value
Yeah.
that the new technology platform can deliver,
Yeah.
and how procurement teams have expanded the impact that they can deliver to the organization. So I really, at the end of the day, how do we make procurement a hero? And have them actually give them the tools, if you will, the weapons, if you will, to really solve the problem for their users, for their companies. And I'm just really excited about all the customers implementing, going live, and all the use cases and the problems they're solving with us. And we have a customer who was trying to solve the Germany, the Scope 3, the sustainability.
German Supply Chain Act.
The Supply Chain Act, and that was the first use case that they tackled with us. So I'm really interested to see, all the problems which are unique and different and very meaningful that customers are tackling in our platform.
And for you, and Pivot on
Bigger booth.
Sorry,
Bigger booth.
Yeah, but we'll make you a bigger booth next year.
No, but I think it reflects like how we will manage to grow. So we spent the last 15 months mostly to build the products, because it's quite a big product to build at the end. But now we reach a point where it's ready on shelf, ready to be used, like all type of, because we're industry agnostic, so all type of company headquarter in EMEA. So now we come to a point where we really want to grow our customer base, because we're ready for that. And next year we'll brought way more French people. They're underrepresenting.
Okay, looking forward to that if you bring them. And then we go to Rijssel, right? We talked about Rijssel, the restaurant in Amsterdam, which was pretty good. Thank you so much for sharing your stories on growth, innovation, the category. And thank you for being at DPW in Amsterdam this year.
Thank you.
I wish you a great second day. And hopefully also we'll see each other soon again.
Thank you.
Thanks to the audience. And thank you for listening or viewing here at DPW 2024. And looking forward to see you again also. And follow us on the YouTube channels and LinkedIn. And we keep you posted and updated on all the innovation that's coming to your industry.
And Herman, thank you so much for bringing the ambitious, the creative, the curious procurement people to DPW. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Cheers.